Have you ever felt like you were finally breaking through, healing, growing, tasting a bit of peace, only to get yanked right back down by guilt or shame? You tell yourself, I should be past this by now. Your mind replays old mistakes like a movie you can't stop, and you convince yourself you don't deserve the life you're reaching for. That's the trap of guilt and shame. They're not just emotions, they're programs, old survival codes embedded into your subconscious mind like scars. And like any old program, they fight to stay alive. They whisper, they sabotage, they feed on your doubt. They keep you looping in cycles of anxiety, depression, self sabotage, and fear. But here's the truth: guilt and shame are not who you are. They are reflections of old beliefs projected outward until you believe they define you. But they don't. They never did. And the moment you stop identifying with them, you begin to take your power back. Today, I want to show you how to strip those programs of their power, release guilt and shame at the root, and reclaim the worth that has always been yours. There's a crucial difference between guilt and shame. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. And that difference matters because guilt can sometimes nudge you to grow, but shame infects your identity. It doesn't stop at what you did. It convinces you that you are the problem. And when you carry that belief, life reflects it back to you again and again. People treat you as less than, opportunities seem to slip away, relationships feel shallow or fragile, because life always mirrors who we believe ourselves to be. Both guilt and shame carry the heavy energy of unworthiness. They don't just live in your head, they live in your body, in your emotions, and your relationships. They chain you to the past. They block the flow of joy, success, love, and abundance you've been searching for your entire life. The danger is that they rarely show up with a name tag. They sneak in quietly, shaping your choices from the shadows. You don't wake up in the morning saying, I feel guilty today. But when an opportunity comes, that inner voice whispers, you don't deserve this. That's guilt. When you long for intimacy but freeze, telling yourself, if they really knew me, they'd leave. That's shame. I know this battle all too well. For years, I built my business by day, but slept on an air mattress at night on my office floor, 3 hours away from my family, ashamed of how far I was from the life I pretended to have. Every time I looked at my family, guilt stabbed me with the words, you're failing them. And every time I thought about letting people see my struggle, shame whispered, if they really knew, they'd see you as a fraud. It was a prison of my own mind. And because life is reflective, I attracted experiences that seemed to prove it true. Setbacks, rejection, and people who mirrored back my own unworthiness. I didn't call it guilt or shame at the time. I just thought I wasn't enough. I thought I was broken. But I wasn't broken, and neither are you. You've simply been programmed by guilt and shame. And programs aren't permanent. They can be rewritten. So, how do you rewrite the program of guilt and shame? How do you stop carrying them like chains around your neck and finally step into freedom? First step is recognizing the program. You can't heal what you won't admit is there. Ask yourself, where am I still punishing myself? Where do I feel like I'm paying the price for my past? Maybe you catch yourself saying, I don't deserve this. That's not the truth. That's programming. The second step is separating your identity from your behavior. A mistake is something you did. It's not who you are. What you did is an event, but who you are is awareness, potential, and the power to choose again. You are not your failures. You are the one who can grow beyond them. The third step is rewriting the narrative. Every time guilt or shame shows up, interrupt the loop. Say to yourself, I'm allowed to grow from my mistakes. I am worthy, even in my imperfection. My past doesn't define my future. These aren't just affirmations, they're truth. And truth is stronger than any program. The fourth step is practicing radical self-compassion. I used to beat myself up endlessly. Maybe you know that feeling too, replaying a mistake over and over until you've drained every ounce of hope from yourself. But compassion interrupts that cycle. Instead of, I can't believe I messed up, try, I'm human, I'm learning. This is growth, and it's okay to make a mistake. You deserve the same kindness you'd give to someone you love. And finally, step 5, anchor it in action. Because nothing rewires a program faster than living from a new identity. Every time you act from worthiness, even in small ways, you're building a new foundation. For me, this looked like showing up authentically in my business, even when I was terrified of being judged. And every single time I chose authenticity over fear, guilt and shame lost just a little more power over me. Think of it like wallpaper. Maybe you've painted over old wallpaper before. At first, the new coat looks fresh, but slowly, the old pattern bleeds back through. That's what happens when you try to cover up guilt and shame without addressing the underlying issues. But when you strip the wallpaper down to the bare wall, when you separate your identity from your behavior, when you rewrite the story, when you anchor it in action, now the surface is clean. And now what you put on top is fresh, lasting, and true. That's how you begin to rewrite the program. Not overnight, not perfectly, but step by step, choice by choice, action by action. And with each step, freedom becomes less of a dream and more of a reality. Here's the truth I want you to see. Guilt and shame are not your enemies. They are messengers. They carry within them the very keys to your freedom if you're willing to look deeper. Think about it. Guilt reveals where you're still carrying a debt that doesn't exist anymore. Shame reveals where you've confused what you did with who you are. They both point to the exact places in your life that are calling out for healing, compassion, and truth. When you shift your perspective, guilt and shame stop being weights that crush you, and they become signals guiding you back to your power. They're like neon arrows saying, "This is the doorway, enter here." I've seen this in my own life. The guilt I carried as a husband and father showed me exactly where I had abandoned myself. It taught me the value of presence and vulnerability. Shame taught me that I had been hiding behind an identity that was never really me. And when I broke that mask, I discovered authenticity was my greatest strength. And this is what I teach all my clients. Life is always speaking to you. It speaks through joy, yes, but it also speaks through pain. Every experience, even the ones we'd never choose, has a gift hidden inside of it. And guilt and shame, they're just languages of life we haven't learned to read yet. So let's practice right now. Take a breath. Think of one area in your life where guilt or shame has been heavy. Maybe it's a mistake you made. Maybe it's a secret you've carried. Maybe it's a part of yourself you've never forgiven. Hold that for just a moment. Now ask yourself, what if this isn't proof that I'm broken? What if this is a teacher? What gift is waiting for me here? Sit with that. Don't force the answer. Just let the question open a door within you. Even if all you feel is a tiny bit of compassion, that's the gift beginning to show itself. Because once you learn to ask, what's the gift, instead of, what's wrong with me, everything changes. You move from victim to creator, from punishment to power, from chains to freedom. The moment you stop hiding behind shame and stop paying debts with guilt, you don't just feel lighter, you reclaim your life. Because you realize those shadows were never proof that you were broken. They were invitations to step into a higher version of yourself. So here's what I want you to do. The next time guilt or shame rises up, instead of shoving it down, instead of letting it spiral, just pause. Take a breath and ask yourself, what program is this? And what gift is waiting for me here? Don't wait for tomorrow or next week. Try it today, right now if you can. Because freedom doesn't begin when guilt and shame disappear. It begins the moment you stop letting them define you and start looking for the gift they've been holding all along. And if you want to go deeper, if you're ready to break free from these programs once and for all, I'd love for you to grab a free copy of my book, Fight Back in the description below. It's not just a book. It's a blueprint to help you reprogram your subconscious, reclaim your identity, and finally live aligned with who you really are. Listen, you're not broken. You are not your past. You are not the mistakes you've made. You are worthy now. Your life has been waiting for you to see that truth. So stop hiding. Stop paying debts you no longer owe. Step into the light of your own worth and let the world see the gift that only you can bring.